Hey, KK, how are you?
Great. How are you, Venkat?
Good, good. I'm in a car, but feeling good for the day. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So for the last few weeks, we talked about vulnerability management and how what are the problems in there, how to prioritize, how AI can help collect the right data to prioritize. I thought for the next uh, few weeks, let's focus on compliance and how compliance, how people can tackle compliance, how it can be automated, and those topics, and bring in AI with respect to how compliance can be automated with AI. Without right now, like there is a lot of stress involved when people say complaints because people jobs are involved with respect to if complaints fails, and a lot of tools are involved with respect to collection and analysis and writing and all that. A lot of departments involved with respect to HR and DevOps and all. So we'll be I thought we'll focus on how to make it stress free for operators, for security engineers.
Yeah, we have at Network Intelligence a pretty large GRC team, about 65 people. And over the last 6 months, what we had been doing was talking to our GRC customers for whom we do PCI and HIPAA and High Trust and SOC 2. And we started asking them what their key pain points were. The consistent feedback we were getting from all of them was that, look, you guys do a great job, you're pretty thorough, you give us a tough time, we appreciate it, but there is a lot of heavy lifting we have to do in terms of collecting evidence, sharing it with you, then you the guys like it, don't like it, there's back and forth, there's iterations, etc. And then, you and I got talking and we said, why don't we just automate all of that and leave the customer to focus on their product and their business? And I think a bit of self congratulations is in order, because we got our first customer SOC 2 certified with this AI native approach. Uh, and we build a bunch of agents to do that, which continue to monitor the customer's SOC 2 status and compliance. So I think we can talk more in terms of what that approach looked like. What do the agents do? I don't know if we can show an agent under the hood, because also at RSA, Venkat, I met a number of other founders and who started their companies in the pre-AI, pre-agent era. Let me say, not pre-AI era, pre-agent era. And I was discussing with them that if they had to start a company today and build it using agents, what would they do? And then that's the approach that they should take. And many were still not like they said yes, we'll add agents to what we do. I said no, not add agents to what you do. Build an AI native company from scratch. Like set up a separate team, a small team, or a project to do that. And I think that the conviction comes when you see an agent in action. When you see and not only on the surface. The surface it looks like it does any kind of like it's not magical, right? On the surface it goes, fetches information, validates it, shows the output. It's when you look under the hood and you find that the typical programming logic that one would have written is simply not there. It just auto figures out a lot of the stuff. That's when the penny drops. For me, that's what it was. Like, wow, this is a whole new world we are in right now. But yeah, I mean, go ahead, tell us. What did we do with this customer? What agents we build? How do these agents work, from collecting evidence to monitoring security, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, if we take a look at compliance, I'll kind of share the traditional. Let me share and then see. Uh, so I just opened up an old submission from way back when of how, from a security standpoint, when auditors come and say, "Hey, we want this," I used to ask my team, say, "Hey, here are a bunch of Jira tickets, go and collect access request form, go and collect administrator, go and collect anti-malware. There is about uh, uh, for SOC 2 maybe about 60, 70 bunch of tickets, and for FedRAMP like 200 tickets. And each ticket is about the auditor has asked something. Let's go and collect the evidence that's related to this. And a lot of these things are not just collection in terms of point in time. For example, security incidents. You need to ensure that you are creating security incidents, you're monitoring security events and creating incidents per your policy, etc. And therefore, it's not a point in time go and collect a configuration that many of the compliance vendors do out there now, but it also ensuring that you are monitoring continuously throughout the audit period. There are things like vulnerability management and patching, where again that is not when the auditor says tell me that you have taken care of your SLAs. That means that they will ask what are the vulnerabilities throughout the year or whatever the audit period is, and what are the criticalities on them, and show me that those are remediated within the time frame. And therefore the stress that comes on the audit time is less related to the configuration collection. There is a little bit of that where the configuration of what you're collecting needs to be in line with your policies, but also ensuring that, hey, we opened up an incident last month. Did we close that or not? These are the severities of vulnerabilities. Did we all resolve that or not? So those are all from a security engineering perspective, we need to be confident that right tickets are open, right tickets are closed, the SLAs are being met, and all that. So if at that time there was no agents, but I thought if there were agents who are continuously monitoring for whether we're doing the right things and do the right things, meaning monitor the events, decide whether to create an incident, open up an incident, talk to employees to see whether that's the right incident or not, close the incident and all, then we can be continuously confident, not just about the configuration evidence, but also continual monitoring, continual vulnerability management, those activities as well, that we can be very confident that we are continuously doing the right things for the auditor. And that is what the agents can do. If an agent is monitoring all these buckets, from point in time configurations to new policy writing to every year you have to sign off on new policies, every year you have to do risk assessment review. So there are a bunch of activities that a security team needs to do, and if the agent is doing those activities, then the stress on the security team would be less. And that's what we did for this customer, where the agent performed these activities, ongoing activities, and continuously collected the evidence that it is performing the activities and therefore from a security engineering standpoint, it is less stressful.
Yeah, I mean, this is the age of continuous compliance, right? And the wave of Vanta and Drata essentially shows us that that's where the market has moved from point in time compliance to 24/7 compliance.
Yep.
But what do agents do differently? I mean, why are we so excited about this versus just recommending customers to implement Vanta or Drata?
Right. Since you mentioned the existing vendors out there, it is quite easy, especially if you're in cloud, to get the configuration, point of time configuration. Let's say, I'll pick an example of your customer data should be encrypted with X, Y, and Z keys. It is very easy to go collect the configuration of an RDS and see whether encryption is set and what the protocols are and what the encryption algorithms are on that. Right? There's a point in time verification, and the tools that you mentioned essentially do that, which is collect the point in time verification and say that, yep, I collected the evidence that the RDS is encrypted with right algorithms, and I'm continuously doing that. and you are good. Um, except that is, uh, let's say, 10-20% of the equation. The the stress doesn't come from that, meaning, taking that RDS example, the encryption settings are in code somewhere, or in Terraform somewhere. So unless I'm doing change management on my Terraform code, there's no way that if I set something with Terraform in RDS, there's no way that will change unless there is a huge security incident that somebody got root access into the cloud account. And therefore, there is almost pointless to continuously configure the running configuration in AWS, because it is not going to change. It is only going to change when you go and change your Terraform code and somebody deploys it. So in that sense, it's almost stress-free from a compliance standpoint. I'm very confident that nobody has changed my database configuration. What I am more stressful about is vulnerabilities. For example, whether some vulnerability that that the tool has reported has a high criticality rating. Did the team actually resolve that and close the ticket? Monitoring when somebody used an admin account. Uh, did I create the incident? Did I close it off? Did I do the right things? All those things would need a security person, a security team. I need to go and hire a security person to do those activities. If I'm going to hire that security person, then then that's an expense anyway. Why do you need an agent if you have security person, so to speak? So what we aim to do is to take over a lot of responsibilities that a security person would do, uh, in terms of the activities that need an agent. A user access reviews that complaints ask you to do, such as a firewall configuration review or a security group review or user access reviews. All those things are activity based, meaning somebody needs to go in, collect all the data that exists all over the place, objectively evaluate um, whether this person need access or not, whether that port that we opened still needs to be open or not, and then make a comment there saying yes, this person still needs access. That port still needs to be open. And those are the activities that would take away the real work that somebody has to do. And if an agent can do that, then I don't need a security person to do those activities. Is what we are aiming at. So
And
go ahead.
yeah, where does MCP fit into all of this? That's the huge buzz, and I know that our agents work on the MCP framework.
Yep. Let me share and present a glimpse of what is going to come in the next few weeks. Um, the example I'm going to take today is user access review. And since you asked about MCPs, let me share that as an example. And we are going to share more of these over the next few weeks. Pick a topic and then go over how we can automate. I'm going to show the user access review problem and how agents can automate. So here, when the user says conduct a user access review, create a ticket, the agent, so to speak, take that activity, which is a conduct user access review, as an activity. I didn't tell the agent or anyone what user access review means, what it entails. I didn't say how to create a ticket or a conference page. I didn't say what details it should have. I just said I want a user access review, and that's it. And this is where the agents can help with even without having a security team, so to speak. I mean it when I say that, because the models, when they get trained of generic terms such as user access review, the model knows what user access review means because it got trained on internet, and internet has a lot of information around what user access review means, what it should have, what it should check for, and all that stuff. When I give a task like this to an agent, it goes and plans for how to do the task. here it broke down a task into, let me go get the user access review, um, do the user access review. Okay, what do I need for user access review? I need to get the users. Where should I get the users from? And from one of the tools, uh, it determined that it needs to get the user listing from AWS Identity Center. After that, what should I do? I need to analyze and create the ticket and conference page and all that. Right? So that is where, as a engineer, I'm less concerned. My work is reduced a lot because I'm not thinking about how to do a user access review. I'm letting the model decide what to do with a user access review. If the user access review means, for example, here, it is creating a conference page automatically for me to show the auditor, but I didn't go and tell it to look at the user group memberships and user permission sets, all that stuff. It did that by itself, and therefore, I am not going and looking at groups and users, and this is like at least 30 to 1 hour task every week, every quarter, and the agents automatically did that analysis, made some judgment calls around the findings and recommendations about what to do, and created the page automatically. So this is, if an agent does this and tell, hey, here's what I did, here is the analysis, and here are the recommendations, my work is done from a company standpoint. I don't need to do anything more. So this is an example of a activity that security team needs to do that agents can take over, which would relieve the time that it takes to do a compliance activity, and the stress that, hey, did I do last year's or last week's review or not, and show that this is, once we get confident that this is automatically done.
So this is pretty fascinating actually. If you go back to the start where you're giving that prompt, yeah, this one. So we're not building the rules, we're not building, if you see this then do that, go do this, etc. This is, so what's happening under the hood? Is this getting converted to a larger prompt? Do you have, first of all, a large prompt, and then um, access to tools, because if you want to go, and this is fetching it from a cloud configuration, so obviously we have access via API to the cloud configuration, and we have access to the Jira and Confluence via API. But then the rest, it kind of figures out how much is there static logic code, and how much is it just figuring things out on its own.
Yeah. So the agentic frameworks are evolving. There are a lot of frameworks around how to build agents, how to stitch agents in the graph model. There are a bunch of frameworks that dictate how to first run this, and then after you figure that out, pass that task on to a different agent, or run these 4 agents in parallel. There are a lot of agent frameworks out there. And we have our own, which is way simpler. Where if I can bucket the agent into a few facets. One is the tools, just like you said. We need a I'll call it business logic. We need a logic to go and collect the users. So irrespective of who is doing the activity, whether it's a human or an agent, we need the user data, and we need some logic to go and collect the users. That is what in the agentic world called tools. We need to provide our capabilities, provide the agent the capabilities that it has access to go do that activity. The second is the integrations. For example, here I said create a Jira ticket. The integrations is where MCPs come into play, where I don't need to give it a tool to go connect to Jira. I can, Atlassian has an MCP server, for example, or you can do your own, where you can say, here is a Jira MCP server, and it has capabilities to go create a ticket. Therefore, I don't, in this case, we didn't build our own tool for Jira. We just used what Atlassian provides us. So, and the agent, when it orchestrates things, it figures out the tools, it figures out the integrations, it figures out some of the business logic depending on what you want it to do. Sometimes we are more prescriptive in, for example, incident response, where we say this is, you're not trained well, and therefore we'll exactly tell it what incident review means. In this case, it's user access review, and therefore the agent is autonomous, so to speak, that it knows how to do a user access review. And since we are confident that it knows how to do a user access review, we didn't give it much details around what user access review means. So it's a, it's not, if you're not too involved with ML and Gen AI and agents, it takes a bit of time to go build out these agents. But that's where we come in, from a Transilient standpoint, to say we have built out agents and you just go use it. You point your workflow, whether you are in a on a terminal or a IDE, you go point your task to our agents, and we are the ones who would be responsible for building the agents and testing them, so to speak, so that you can be confident that this task is getting done the right way, and you don't have to worry about building agents and all.
And what is the whole MCP scene about? What is that?
MCP is enables for the interaction between tools that multiple people create. Imagine that it's a Zapier. So if you are interested in hooking up, I want to auto respond to my email in a specific way, you hook your email up to Zapier, and then you hook your other apps into Zapier, and then you stitch your workflow in Zapier. Similar way, if you want to send a user access review to Jira, for example, instead of you building a Jira integration, you would talk to a Jira MCP server, and so that you don't have to build that integration. It's an easy way to build integrations. There are other patterns, like Google introduced agent-to-agent protocol. So all these things will emerge more in the future. And at the end of the day, it will make it easier for builders to build more applications, because there is a community and ecosystem building the same applications, and therefore without me building everything, I can use what else the best of the world out there and stitch my workflow.
Yeah, I was just before. I think we have a few questions, but I just wanted to also share with you some thoughts that I was putting together for a pitch deck. Let me see what we have.
Yeah, I didn't see the question, so if you can answer those, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll do that. So the way I was thinking was that right now, this is just, is my screen visible? Yeah. So right now, there's this plethora of security tools and technologies that any company has, right? Traditionally, a mid-sized customer would have close to 50 security tools. A large enterprise customer would have 100 to 200 security tools. The way I'm seeing what we are building out is that each of these get replaced by one or more discrete agents, right? Composable agents which do specific tasks. So right now we already have vulnerability agents, we have a threat intelligence. You just showed us the IAM agent for cloud. This, in fact, that falls into a whole product category called CIEM, Cloud Identity and Entitlement Management.
Yep.
I mean, it's not there yet, but you can see the direction in which this is going. Compliance agents, incident response agents, alert enrichment. We've built something very cool over there. So all of this actually, and then through whatever framework or orchestration logic we use, all of this bubbles up into a decision layer. You and I, we were debating reports and dashboards, right? And then you said, but why do we need reports and dashboards? And I said, to get insights. And then why do we need insights? To make decisions. Okay, but then AI can give you those decisions and let you figure out why it has made those decisions. But you can get to that stage with AI. You don't have to auto figure out, manually figure out 6 months of trend data and say, hey, here's the problem. AI does that for you. For example, marketing reports that I get, I've been using AI to analyze 6 months of marketing reports and give me trends and things like that, which if I were to do this manually would take a very long time. I would not do it. So similarly with security, that's beginning to happen. And then I also see, because of that, the flattening of hierarchies. Like, this is a very typical security team, right? It's got multiple departments, and then within that, a whole level of people. Within that, there's L1, L2, L3, and so on and so forth, right? I see all of that going away. This is what I'm seeing as kind of the future of a security, in fact, of any organization. There's a hundreds and thousands of agents. I actually added this manual layer of operators, but and I'll tell you why. But eventually, for the most part, I feel agents will manage agents. Agents will troubleshoot agents. Agents will monitor the functioning of agents and warn if there's anything going wrong, etc. I still see a very, very important need for subject matter experts. For example, as we are building out these agents, multiple folks from the consulting team, from the security teams that we have, are coming in and validating the output, ensuring that this is on track with how it should look like. It's accurate, it's comprehensive, nothing has been missed out. And then, of course, there has to be somebody at the top, on whose head the Damocles sword will always be hanging. So that CXO position will never go away. I hope so, because then if that happens, then CEOs are also in an existential crisis, which I do feel personally sometimes. But the reason why I see a need for this human operator layer is because we eventually need a feeder system into the SMEs, right? These people have to learn and grow into the SME layer. Otherwise, we'll just run short of SMEs. So, it'll be some person retired farming somewhere in the Midwest, and who'll have to be called to figure out this is what a bloodhound output looks like. So, to kind of not get to that level, we still need humans who work at lower layers, but also, I think this SME layer also gets combined with agent developers. Like, it has to be like a AI ops team, like a DevOps team.
Yep. So there are a few. Completely agree with you. I think there is more need for the SMEs with agents than not.
Yeah.
For sure. So
And
there is a question there. I'll take a couple and then you can take one. There is a question on, there's many GRC platforms out there in automation. What makes Transient smart? That's a good question. If you see the user access review demo that I just showed, there's a bunch of things that are going on. I wouldn't call it automation, right? A user access review is a judgment call. When you do a user access review, you have to think, why do this user need this permission set? Then you have to say, okay, let me go look at the user department. Is he a developer? In the engineering team, does he belong to DevOps team? Is he a database user? So you're asking these questions to determine whether a particular user needs a particular access or not. If you look at the GRC platform, those are all, give me data, I'll organize it. Those are not the ones who are making these judgment calls with respect to, let me go take a look at the user, let me go take a look at the tags, let me go look at the permissions, and determine, does this user need these permissions? That is what the user access review means. And I would say the GRC platforms out there can do the automation part, as in, I don't even know what automation is there, right? The RDS example, go and check for encryption settings. You can automate that. You don't need agents to go check for RDS permissions. That's a task that can be automated. So you can write a Python script to go check for encryption settings. But to do a user access review, it's not automation. It is agentic. That means that somebody needs to go sign off and say, this is the reason why this user needs access. So this is the user who is tagged as a database admin in the HR database. And I see the IAM role here that has database read access. and therefore it's okay, right? Somebody who has the knowledge of everything, who has examined a bunch of items, is saying that. And that used to be a senior security engineer. Now that that thing which is making a judgment call saying this user access review is good is an agent. And that's not automation, that's agentic. There's a huge difference between automated, which is scriptable, to agentic, which is making judgment calls.
Yeah.
There is a, let me quickly also share, there is a question on what agentic frameworks are for a couple of seconds. And then if you can read other questions and answer them, that will be good. There is a good blog from Anthropic on building effective agents. And it goes through the various patterns of parallel agents, serial agents, the aggregator agent, etc., etc. So that's a good blog to read to see how agents can be built. There's a bunch of frameworks, LangChain, CrewAI, etc. But the foundational models these days have gotten into agents as well. So this is OpenAI Agents SDK.
Yeah.
There is one from Google as well.
Yeah.
So those are all agent frameworks that people can tinker around with.
Yeah. And, there's a caveat on this as we come to a close for today's session, which is that you shouldn't be looking at agents to solve all your problems, automate everything. There are specific cases in which agents work great, and there are situations in which you don't want to be using agents. In fact, there's a brilliant talk from the Claude team, from the Anthropic team, sorry, on situations where agents. It's built off of this blog post, building effective agents. So stuff like where you have simplistic logic, where your if then else select statements would cover 3, 4, 5 situations, you should probably not use agents. But
Agents,
things
correct.
which are complex, ambiguous, require deep analysis, multiple data sources, all those things fit very well with the agentic flow.
Yep.
So let's quickly go through the questions. We've actually answered most of them. With the rise of AI-generated alerts and data, Amruta is asking, how does a platform distinguish between genuine risks and noise? So that's where the Amruta, the art and science of building the agents happens, and where the interfacing and interaction with the subject matter experts matters a lot. I mean, before we release agents, there is a huge amount of testing and validation that we do. There's also frameworks and testing and validation frameworks for agents also coming across. SUI is one. There are many others which can be used to do this. And this will also continue to be an evolving science. In fact, the latest news shows that the latest LLM models hallucinate even more. So, that this is a constant battle that we will have to keep fighting. And there's multiple things that go into this. There is prompts, the beauty and the greatness of your prompts, how awesome your prompt engineering is. It's RAGs, it's how well you've built your RAG database. That adds to the accuracy of the output. It is subject matter expertise validating this output all the time, etc. So I think that matters a lot. Like, for example, I was referring to this alert enrichment agent. We're having multiple members of our SOC team look at the output from the agent, validate, is this what you would do as a human? Would you look at more things? Is this conclusion accurate, etc.? So there's a lot that goes into it, and then we feed that back to the dev team. Raghu is asking, what's one blind spot organizations have when evaluating vendors in 2025? This is, I think, a very broad question, Raghu, so maybe not for today. But third-party AI risk is massive. There's this whole concept of shadow AI. In fact, there are some very interesting companies that have come through in terms of discovering agents, validating agents, identifying agents, etc. Palo Alto just acquired Protect AI for like gazillions of hundreds of millions of dollars. So there is a lot of action happening around AI security itself. We believe, again, agents will play the most effective role in discovering other agents. It's a very it's a science fiction kind of reality, but it's happening as we speak. It's closer to fact than fiction at this point in time. So I foresee agents discovering other agents, agents bringing other agents in line, validating them, identifying them, certifying them, inventorying them, testing them. That's where it's going to get. Deepak had a question about agentic platforms. We did that actually? We spoke about the different agentic frameworks that are there. The MCP server framework from Anthropic, Google's agent-to-agent communication. So we did those things. Dibyanshu, you want to apply for internship in our company? Yes, please do. In fact, maybe Venkat, we should do a session around the future of cybersecurity careers in the age of AI, because I get a lot of questions on my LinkedIn DMs from people, looking for jobs, and while our internship program is pretty active, it's essentially to build that operator layer as I see it. A lot of the L1 tasks have been almost completely fully automated now. So I think with that, we'll close today's session. So thanks, Venkat. Thank you for everyone who joined. And watch out on Transilience.ai for more action coming soon.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye-bye.